Hi, I'm Mary Glassman, First Selectman of the Town of Simsbury. Welcome to the new program called Your Tax Dollars at Work. The purpose of this program is to meet with taxpayers and voters on a monthly basis and help introduce our staff to our residents so that we can share what programs and what services are available, and more particularly how we're spending your tax dollars. We hope that you find this program helpful. We look forward to your comments and questions about what other programs we could offer to you. And it's part of our ongoing effort to hear from you, our residents, about how we can better serve you. So sit back, relax, and take a look at your tax dollars at work.
The Simsbury Tax Office is located at the Town Hall, 933 Hot Meadow Street. Use the building's side entrance and climb the outside staircase to the main floor. Take a left through the double door, past the reception desk, and take a right down the hallway. The tax department counter is not the first one you see, but it is a bit of a walk down the hallway on the left. Posted around the tax counter are several pieces of general information regarding making payments or obtaining a receipt. You will be greeted by one of the two tax department personnel, Assistant Tax Collector Donna Derry or Tax Collector Colleen O'Connor, who also has her office behind the counter. Paying by credit card is an option. The computer located in the hallway will allow you to process your payment. It is also available for you to look up tax information if needed. The money glasses and play money are some items on hand to lend a bit of levity to the serious business carried on by the tax department. Across the hall from the tax department is the assessor's office. Today we find Helen Solansky, assessor's clerk, and Laura, an intern, at their desks. You will also find the assessor's aide, Sarah Koeniger, and assistant assessor, Patrick Sullivan, but are out today. Now please join us for an interview with David Gardner, Simsbury's assessor, and Colleen O'Connor, tax collector.
A Simsbury resident comes to the tax department and puts down a check for $10,000 for their taxes. What does this cover? What's the pie percentage?
Out of the 10,000, 7,100 would go to the Board of Education. 2,200 would be part of the Board of Selectmen, what they run on, and then 7% would be the debt services. 700.
David, anything you want to add to that?
No, that's
an exclamation
pretty
point.
complete.
Yeah, that's where your $10,000 is going to go.
But it goes very well, doesn't
Yes,
it, here?
yeah,
Yes.
yep.
I'd like it if you would list, each of you, the functions of your departments.
The assessor's office is responsible for discovering and listing and valuing real and personal property. Personal property includes the equipment, furniture, and fixtures of businesses, as well as motor vehicles. And that is compiled into the grand list, which is an inventory of the taxable property in the town as of any given October 1st. So we have an assessment date of October 1st. So there's a grand list every year. There's a periodic revaluation of just the real estate. And in the revaluation, we estimate the market value of each property as of the date of the revaluation. So this last revaluation was October 1st, 2007, based on sales occurring in the town before that date. And those carry through to the next revaluation, which is 2012. In the next revaluation, we'll be required to re-inspect all the properties, as well as to revalue them. In addition, annually the assessor's office administers tax exemption programs. We have exemptions for veterans, disabled, blind. There's a tax credit program for the elderly. We take applications for that from February 1st to May 15th. The veterans exemptions, the additional veterans exemption, which has an income qualifier on it, we take those exemptions, applications from February 1st to October 1st.
Is that a standard figure, the veterans exemption?
It varies. There's a basic veterans exemption for service in time of war. It's a $1,000 exemption off the assessment, and reduces that by itself reduces the tax bill by about $30 or so, depending on what the mill rate is. But there's an additional veterans exemption for those veterans who not only have the wartime service, but who qualify based on income.
I see. So you have the grand list, and you have all the values for property, all kinds of property, and you have a tax exemption program, and then you also provide a lot of information.
Right. The assessor's office has quite a bit of information. Some of it's going back through a couple of different revaluations. We have older assessor cards as well as the current set, which gives building dimensions and areas, land size, age of buildings, and other building details that are used to either value or describe the building on the property.
And one final, I think I'm a little confused on this. Is there more than one way to assess? Is there so-called the drive-by assessment as opposed to the actual going inside?
Well, going back to the revaluation, we used the existing data. We verified the data that we had on the sold properties. We did the usual update of that's information on buildings that had building permits out on them. And then we used the sales data that we had from the sales, primarily the year before, but even going back 2 or 3 years for some of the data, to put a value on the property. It is a revaluation. It's a complete revaluation in itself, but it didn't involve a reinspection this time.
Okay.
So the next time around will be a full reinspection
Will be.
program.
Well, I learned something too. I have a lot to learn, believe me, especially in this area. Colleen, your department, please.
Responsible for collecting the taxes, car taxes, real estate, sewer use, sewer assessment. We have some water assessments. Obviously, balancing. We provide a lot of information to the general public, phone calls. A lot of title searchers, attorneys come in. They have closings, they need to get the tax information. We are in a lot of contact with banks. Banks send us every year all the accounts that they're holding escrows for. So we code everybody's accounts of who has an escrow, who doesn't have an escrow. Obviously mailing out the bills. Answering lots of questions.
So it's a full plate.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, maintaining all the financial records.
Yeah.
Lien notices,
Yeah, we
transfers of
file
new
we
home.
file the lien notices in the springtime on any outstanding real estate or sewer usage fees.
And home ownership goes through you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We-
reports with the state of Connecticut, that's a
Correct. There are some reports that we
very
have to file
important.
through. Yeah, that we have to
and
file
all
with
the
the
other,
state.
smaller things that you have to look up.
Right.
in
I mean,
title
every
searches.
day there's adjustments that are done through the assessor's office, getting rid of vehicles or something. Sold a vehicle, they do the correction over there. So either it requires us to send out a new bill with the corrected amount, or the bill's deleted.
These are very fluid departments, aren't they?
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. And it's nice because we are right across the hall from each other.
Now, I understand that residents are frequently confused as to which office they should approach when they have a problem. I'm just wondering, is there an easier, more efficient way that we could help the public to discern which path to take when they walk in the door, which would cut down on all the work that you have to do? Either of you?
Well, I mean, it is fortunate in the fact that we are right across the hall from each other. I mean, a lot of times people will get their tax bill in the summer and it's a car they no longer own. Because I guess I send out the bills, they assume that it should come to me, so they'll come to us in the summer and explain that they don't have this car any longer. That is something that they need to go to the assessor. Any kind of adjustment really needs to go through the assessors. He tells me how much to take, and that's what I do.
If it has something to do with the basis of the tax, then it's probably the assessor.
Right.
Now, I was
It's
thinking
simply-
about it when I was reading your material, and I thought, well, it seems pretty clear. If it needs to be determined, it goes to you. If it needs to be collected, it goes to you. So
Right.
it's a simple question that I guess we could all ask ourselves before we pick up the phone
Right.
and dial the wrong number.
Yeah.
I know you have a website, and you want to tell us about that?
Well, if you go to the town website, go under the departments, obviously his is the assessors, I'm the tax collector. There is a section in there, frequently asked questions. A lot of it is, you can go on there now and pay your taxes. You can go online and pay taxes. You can find the mill rate. There's mill rate history. It shows the mill rate back from 20, 25 years. I think we have that on there. It says on there if you sold a car, if I transferred a plate. You know, it gives you a lot of information. Connects you also to, a lot of people think that they have to contact the town when they move for their motor vehicle, which they should, but also it has to be done through the Department of Motor Vehicles. There's a link on there that goes directly to the Department of Motor Vehicles. I believe on David's website also, he has a lot of links connected.
We have links to we have a link to the Department of Motor Vehicles. We have one to the Veterans Administration for those that need to get the documentation for service. We have a link out to the company that hosts our assessment data. There's an abbreviated version of the assessor's property record card is available. It shows the sketch of the building, if there's a building, and other pertinent details, as well as the assessment and the owner. And that's
There's
that's
a lot of
free
information.
Yes,
website with you link right out to from the
Yeah,
assessor's
I
office.
was amazed at all the
Yeah.
information that I was able to glean and learn.
Yeah, one of the nice things this year that we have on there, starting in February, March, and the first 15 days of April, we get so many phone calls because people just don't keep records and they want to know how much they paid for when they're doing their income tax. You can now go online and look that information up. I mean, it is all public information. So
That's terrific.
through the town, through the tax office website, you can go in and you can look up, search under name or address, and it will show you your cars, your real estate, and how much you paid and the dates and everything. So the history will be there. It's just Donna and myself in the tax office. So last year we started, if you did need the information, required that you either fill out a form and mail it in, and we would mail it back to you. We weren't going to give the information over the phone any
Right,
longer because
right.
it's just so many phone calls. You're trying to wait on people at the counter, and the phone is ringing. And
But if I look it up,
But you
I
can look
print
it up.
out.
yeah,
and
you can
use
look it up and
Yeah.
print it out now. Yeah, so I mean hopefully this year a lot of people will use that.
Now, the flip side, there are many people you know who do not feel comfortable
Right.
with using the website. They maybe don't even have a computer.
Right.
Is there any easier way for them, or how do you try to make it easier for them at tax time?
Keep your records.
Well, that, and we have had information going out with the tax bills. This past summer, there was a flyer that went out that titled, "Do you qualify for tax exemption?" And it talked about the veterans exemptions and the elderly tax credit. And that's also available. It's available on the website, but it also went out in print.
Yeah, when every tax bill.
real-
is
And
in the
we
real-
had
in
it
the real
on
estate tax
headlines
bill.
here on SCTV. We ran it for many weeks
Yeah.
so that people would know what the exemptions were. So,
Right.
so the news is out. People just have to look for it if they aren't website handy.
Right. I mean, they can obviously call too, and I mean, come in the information. You know, that does happen. People do call when they want the tax. A lot of it is last minute too, though. I mean, they're sitting in their accountant's office, and obviously their accountant can look it up once we find out that we have it online.
The dreaded question: where is this bill?
The dread-
We probably most of us have been through that. Well, okay, I know there are frequently asked questions that plague you, I suppose, in a way, and I'd like to get to those, starting maybe with the assessor's office. What is an assessment? How do you make an assessment? You've already touched on it, but could you pick up those questions, David, please?
Certainly. The assessment in itself is, by state statute, 70% of some value. For real estate, it's market value as of the date of revaluation. For motor vehicles, typically it's retail value as of the assessment date. And for personal property, it's a depreciated cost, but it's still supposed to be market value. The assessment is as of October 1st, and by having that property assessed on October 1st, it creates an obligation to pay a tax of an as yet undetermined amount, which comes due in July. So the basis of the assessment typically is something like market value or retail value. Market values are based for real estate are based on prices of sold properties. So if somebody wanted to get an idea of whether theirs is in the ballpark or not, they can look at sales of properties. Those are available on the website as well as in the office, and as well as whatever comparison they want to make to what they think are similar homes.
In this economy that we're in right now, I'm sure there must be a goodly number of people who are worried that their property values are going to be assessed, but that they're really worth a lot less. Is there? Can you address that? I
Right.
think all of us are concerned.
Well, there are a couple of points. One is that the revaluation apportions the real estate tax burden according to value as of a certain point in time. The state allows that market value to be plus or minus, and our values were a little on the conservative side. So at the time of the revaluation, instead of taking 100% of what we thought was worth and then taking 70% of that, we backed off to about 92%. So we have a little bit of a cushion. So I hope it will be some time before we get down to the point where our 92% is really 100%. Now, as of the year ended September 30th of '08, it looked like it probably trended down maybe 1.5% to 2% from the previous year. And I don't have a figure on the last 3 months. But the values would stay the same until the next revaluation. What would happen if we adjusted the market values downward would probably, the one thing would probably happen is the mill rate would go up. Right now, the schedule is for the 2012 revaluation, and if need be, that can be advanced, but that would be something that would be, that's probably not a decision I'm going to make.
But all right. But thank you for talking about it. It's a tough time we're in, and there's so many questions that everyone has. So appreciate that. Is there anything else, or that I didn't cover?
Oh, one thing that does come up is the question of what time period is the assessment covered. Strictly speaking, the assessment is as of October 1st of a given year. But there are a couple of exceptions that came into being probably about 30 years ago with the supplemental motor vehicle tax and the prorating on and prorating off of vehicles by the month, depending on when they were acquired or when they were sold, and the prorate for new construction. So those introduced a time element to it. But so when we're dealing with motor vehicles, which is the most common situation, it's October 1st to September 30th. And so if the vehicle's been sold, totaled, or the owner has moved out of state and registered in the new state, then those assessments can be prorated based on that assessment.
It's time for the tax collector and mill rates.
Mill rate, yes. The present mill rate. The present town mill rate is 29.6, and the fire district mill rate is 1.05. And basically, you have on here how is that calculated. Like David said, you take 70% of the value and multiply it by the town's mill rate, and that's how you come up with the taxes. You think your tax bill is unfair or incorrect, obviously call. Maybe one of the reasons why you would think would be incorrect, like we were stating, is if you get your car bill in the summer, you know you don't have the car any longer, there's a possibility the bill can be adjusted or prorated depending on when you got rid of your vehicle. Unfair, I think everybody with the reval now, that's just a question they automatically think because they're looking at the market now.
Right.
Actually, something like that, you know, when people call, then that's something that goes to David over to the assessor's office, and they can come in, like you said, and look up that information. We have on here, how can I pay my taxes? Cash, check. Now you can pay with a credit card, debit card. We don't take credit cards or debit cards over the counter. We do have a computer in the hallway and a phone. When the phone goes directly to official pay, but we do not take them over the counter. You could do it online, you know, or we're going to be mailing out our motor vehicle supplemental bills in another probably 2 weeks, week and a half. And in the bill, there'll also be instructions on paying online. When you pay online through official pay, they do charge you a 3% convenience, they call it convenience fee. If you use your debit card, or excuse me, electronic check, it's $3 if it's under 10,000. You know, you can, like money order, you know, if you come in. If you do have back taxes on motor vehicles that we do require, that should be cash.
What about escrow taxes?
Escrow, the bills automatically, if you're escrowing, your bill automatically goes to the bank. We do not send you a bill. One of the problems with the escrows, where people will always call to see if their bank has paid, the banks do like to pay it, I can tell you, the last week of the month. People will call their bank and ask them if they've paid us, and the bank, they're talking to a customer service person, and the customer service person looks it up on the computer, and they say, oh yes, we dispersed the funds, you know, the second week of January. Here it is the third week and we don't have it. They panic and think that the check is lost. What they do is they send it to a servicing company. The servicing company waits until they receive all the checks and then sends it as one group, right? If you do get a bill and you do escrow, we would just ask you to forward it to your bank, because the banks do have to notify us every spring. Then we will send them, you know, send the bill directly to the bank once they ask for it.
Well, I guess the more sensitive question then is, what if you can't pay your taxes?
Obviously, call us, right? You know, call us. You can make partial payments. Unfortunately, by state statute, though, there is still interest that will accrue. But you can make a partial payment. If you can't pay it, we tell you to try to make some type of payment. Once you get behind with the interest, it's just that much harder to get out. So if you can make a partial payment, obviously that's much better than not paying anything at all, just to try to keep up with the interest.
I think we looked at this question, do I have to apply for tax relief? And if I do, when do I apply? Did you?
That's
Right.
David,
That would be
yeah.
Through our office, and that would be starting February 1st. And if it's an income-related application, you would need the federal income tax return if one is being filed, or whatever the other proofs of income, as well as Social Security benefit statements. But that, for the elderly, it starts February 1st and goes to May 15th. And that's a tax credit program. It's where an amount is deducted directly off the bill.
Colleen, did I miss anything that you wanted to add?
Just that second half of your real estate bill and your personal property are going to be due at the end of the month, by actually February 2nd this year. Postmarks are acceptable. Supplemental motor vehicle bills will be going out the end of December, and those are also due by February 2nd this year.
And if people have a problem, I think we already addressed this about cars. They just need to call and find out which person they need to go to,
Right.
which side of the hall.
Right.
Your office hours for people, David.
8:30 to 7 Monday, and 8:30 to 4:30 Tuesday through Friday. And we're both the same.
And they're the same.
Yeah, both
Okay.
the same, yeah.
And I'm eager to ask you this question. How do you see what you do? I perceive what you do is rather difficult work in the sense that it's I would think tiring and straining because there's so much at stake for so many people. I just wonder how you each perceive it, Colleen.
It's hard. It's hard now when you get phone calls of people that are having a hard time. I've always enjoyed working with the public, so I love it. I mean, you know, it's always the dreaded, people walk up to the counter and, how are you? Oh, they're handing you your check, so they always have some kind of comment. I enjoy it. 99.9% of the people are very nice. And I've always enjoyed working for the public. I've worked for the town for 18 years now, I guess. Started out part-time at the library, worked upstairs at the senior center for a little while, and then have worked at the town hall.
Found your niche.
So I love dealing with people. So I enjoy it very much. So I've enjoyed meeting a lot of other tax collectors. I've met a lot of nice people, since I've been doing it. So.
And David.
There's a combination of valuation and sort of legal background to deal with about what I can and can't do and when I have to do it. And there's in addition to the sort of the technical thing, I actually do try to help. We don't. The whole office tries to help people. Sometimes I don't think not everybody feels helped. There's quite a spectrum of different things. Whether I'm taking elderly applications, I don't take most of them myself, but I take some of them. Sometimes I'll do home visits if somebody can't get out.
I suspect that what you like is you like a mental challenge. I suspect that you like that kind of learning as you go.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah.
That's your personality.
As well as the interaction.
Well,
with people.
I applaud you both because I think that it's a tough job, and I know the toughest part is coming up, and especially right now.
Right.
So we thank you so much for being here, and we hope that this program will help clarify.
Thank you for watching Your Tax Dollars at Work. We hope that you found the information about the programs and services available to you helpful. Particularly, we'd like to thank the staff at Simsbury Town Hall for sharing their ideas and their concerns with you. This is an important ongoing effort to provide outreach to our residents. During these very difficult economic times, it's important for you to know how your tax dollars are spent. We encourage you to continue your involvement in our community, to attend a Board of Selectmen meeting the second and fourth Mondays. You're also welcome to attend every second Monday, Mondays with Mary, where we have coffee in Town Hall from 4 to 6. So thank you again, and we look forward to your feedback on how we can better put your tax dollars to work.